This is 6.3, adding and subtracting rational expressions with monomial denominators. It's per pre-calc 11. So, yesterday we went over multiplying and dividing. Now we're going to go over adding fractions, which ironically is a little bit harder than multiplying and dividing. We remember back to probably grade like 4. When you add fractions, they have to have the same common denominator. You can't just add them straight across. So 1/2 plus 2/3 does not equal 3/5. You can't just add. Instead, what you have to do is you have to find a common denominator between 2 and 3, which in our case is 6. And I have to multiply the denominators by whatever number that is to get my common denominator. Whatever I do to my bottom, I also have to do to my top. So, 1/2 plus 2/3, if the common denominator is 6, I have to multiply 1/2, I have to multiply both sides by 3, and 2/3, I have to multiply both sides by 2. Resulting in 3/6 plus 4/6. Now when I add them, I only add the numerators, and I leave the denominators alone. It's getting a 7/6. So, this adds a couple of interesting steps when we have variables in our equations. So if I have 1/x plus 3/x, they're the same denominator, I can add them straight across. So this is simply just 4/x. However, because we have a variable in our denominator, we still have non-permissible values, which is basically going to be x cannot equal, in our case, x can't be 0. The real trick here is figuring out what the lowest common multiple is, or what is a common denominator between two different expressions. So if I have 2x squared and 4xy, I have to think of the common denominator between both of these, or the least common multiple. Well, between 2 and 4 is going to be a 4. X squared and x is going to be x squared, and I'm going to have a y. So what do I have to do to 2x squared to get 4x squared times y? Well, I have to multiply it by a 2y. And what do I have to multiply 4xy to get 4x squared y? I have to multiply it by an x. That's just the simple step here. We're just going to practice finding the lowest common multiple, because we're going to do it again with 5ab squared and 7xb. So between the two of them, what's the lowest common multiple? Well, between 5 and 7, I know it's going to be 35. There's only a single a in one term, so both terms would have to have an a. B squared and b would be b squared, and x would be x. So what do I multiply 5ab squared to get 35ab squared x? Well, I have to multiply this by 7 and an x. 7xb would turn into, I have to multiply it by 5, an a, and a b. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We can make this trickier by adding more variables. The key when it comes to subtracting, actually we'll get to that later on. Between 5 and 10, we know the least common multiple would be 10. So what do I do to this side to get to 10? We'll have to multiply both top and bottom by 2. Now the key here is when I'm multiplying by 2, I have to multiply the entire expression by 2. So you want to put that in brackets. My other side, my right side, I did nothing to it. So this turns into, well, 2 times 3x turns into 6x, and 2 times 2 turns into positive 4, all over 10 minus 2x over 10. Okay, when we turn this to one expression to subtract the two, it's good practice to put this side, everything in brackets, because that negative affects everything on that side. So this now turns into 6x plus 4 minus 2x divided by 10. 6x minus 2x, we run out of room, so this way it turns into 4x plus 4 divided by 10. I want to simplify this as much as I can. Technically this is a correct answer, but a more correct answer would be to factor this guy up top to give you a 4 and an x plus 1. Again, divided by 10. And then 4 over 10 we could reduce down to 2 and x plus 1 divided by 5. A lot going on. We don't have to state any non-permissible values because none of our denominators have a variable. Alright, question 5. There's a lot going on, so I'm going to go kind of slow. The biggest thing is when you have a whole number is technically over top of 1. So if this was 5, it'd be 5 over 1. If it's 1, it's 1 over 1. That helps when it comes to your lowest common multiple when it comes to your denominators. Between 3, 1, and 4, my lowest common multiple is going to be 12. So I got 4x minus 1 over 3 plus 1 minus 2x minus 3 over 4. And again, I'm going to make all these common denominators of 12. So what do I have to do to 3 to get 12? I have to multiply it by 4. And again, so your brackets will come in handy. What do I multiply 1 by to get 12? Well, I multiply it by 12. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. And what do I multiply 4 by to get 12? I'm going to multiply it by 3. And again, put brackets to make your life easier. So, 4 times 4x turns into 16x. 4 times negative 1 turns into negative 4. This is all over 12. 1 times 12 turns into 12 over 12. I need a little aside here when it comes to this one, because what's really happened is we've got negative, or minus, we're going to have 3, 2x minus 3 over 4. When I distribute this 3 into it, I'm simply going to get 6x minus 9 over 4. But because we're subtracting at the very end, this negative affects both my 6x and my negative 9. So when I put it into my total expression, I'm subtracting, you almost want to times everything by negative 1. So 6x times negative 1 turns into negative 6x, and negative 9 times negative 1 turns into a positive 9. It would be incorrect to say, or what a lot of students will do is they won't put those brackets in, and they're going to go, minus 6x and minus 9, which would be the incorrect answer. At this point, we're just going to simplify. 16x minus 6x turns into a 10x. Negative 4 plus 12 plus 9 turns into a positive 17. And the whole thing is over 12. Again, there's no non-permissible values, as none of our denominators have a variable. Now they do. So, the lowest common multiple between x and x squared as we practice, we know that's simply going to be x squared. So I'm going to times top and bottom of my first equation by x. Again, I don't have to do anything to my x squared. We'll get to the non-permissible values at the end. So, x times 3 turns into 3x. X times x is x squared. We're going to add 5 over x squared to this. 3x plus 5 turns into 3x, 3x plus 5 all over x squared. We can't simplify this, so that is our final answer. We're going to talk about our non-permissible values. Basically, what can x not be? Well, we have x, so we have x squared, so x cannot equal 0. And if you brought the square root to both sides, get rid of your squared, you realize that again, x cannot equal 0. So pretty simple, straightforward explanation. Part 7, we have 2 plus x over top of 4x squared y. This is going to be subtracting x plus 3 and 8x y squared. So again, lowest common multiple between these two. Between 4 and 8 is going to be an 8. X squared and x is going to be an x squared, and a y squared will be a y squared. So what do I have to multiply this side to get 8x squared y squared? Well, I have to multiply it by a 2 and a y. Again, put your brackets to make your life easier so you don't forget. I have to multiply 8x y squared. If I multiply it by an x, I will get my 8x squared y squared. So, distributing this in, 2y times 2 turns into 4y plus 2y times x turns into 2yx over top of, this should now become 8x squared y squared. X times x turns into x squared, and 3 times x turns into 3x. We are over top of 8x squared y squared, but again we're subtracting. So that negative goes into both the x and the 3, or in our case the x squared and the 3x. So that is where we get the negative x squared from, and negative 3x in your final answer. Another way to think about this is when you multiply that x, you could actually multiply a negative x into that x plus 3. Whatever way helps you remember that negative is there. And this is your final answer. We really can't simplify that any further. One thing we do have to state is your non-permissible values. And we basically have x squared and y squared, which basically, if we simplify it, x cannot equal 0, and y cannot equal 0. Only 2 Google questions for this one, for 6.3. Your first question is to basically solve. We're going to have 12xy over top of 7 plus 6x squared over 21. Find your lowest common multiple. Get it is to one expression. Question 2, we have 9 over x minus 3y squared over top of x squared y. If you have any questions or concerns, I will be online Tuesdays and Thursdays for tutorial. Otherwise, good luck.